The roar of motorcycles had barely faded when a strange stillness fell over the small town street. Among the line of leather-clad bikers stepping off their machines, one man stood out, not because of his size or the tattoos covering his arms, but because of the haunting exhaustion in his eyes. His name was Rowan Hale, a hardened Hell's Angel member known for being fearless, short-tempered, and impossible to read. But that morning, something unusual happened, something so small no one noticed at first. A little girl in a faded red dress, holding a stuffed bear missing one eye, began following him. She stayed several paces behind, silent, cautious, watching him as if he were the only safe thing in the world. And though Rowan felt the weight of 100 problems of his own, he could not shake the unsettling feeling that her tiny footsteps had a message meant solely for him. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of humanity, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness Corner. It truly helps spread stories that matter. Rowan tried to ignore her at first. He had come to the cafe with his crew to settle down after a long ride, hoping a steaming cup of black coffee might quiet the storm inside his head. Life hadn't been kind lately. He carried grief in his chest like a locked box, one tied to memories he never talked about, memories of a child he once lost and a family that had slipped away when he spiraled too far into rage and reckless living. Yet as he leaned against the cafe window, trying to push those thoughts down, he noticed the girl again. Still there. Still watching him. Still clutching the worn bear to her chest like a shield against the world. He crouched down slowly, muttering under his breath, but even kneeling felt like a battle. He wasn't built for delicate moments. Not anymore. When the girl stepped closer, he saw how messy her hair was, how her cheeks were streaked with tears that must have dried hours ago, how she kept glancing around as if afraid someone might yank her away at any moment. She didn't speak. She didn't need to. Her eyes carried a helplessness he recognized too well. Something inside him cracked, unfamiliar and raw, and he asked himself why a child would attach herself to a man like him, tattooed, intimidating, armored in leather and scars. The other bikers noticed eventually. They teased him lightly, unclear what was going on, but Rowan waved them off, his expression growing darker with every second the girl stayed near. When he finally stood, she grabbed his vest gently, barely tugging, but enough to freeze him. Rowan felt the tug all the way in his bones. It wasn't the pressure of her hand. It was the silent plea in it. A plea he didn't yet understand. He walked slowly toward the shaded side of the building, and she followed again, small footsteps, hesitant but determined. Rowan stopped. She stopped. His shadow fell over her tiny figure, and for a moment they both stood in a bubble of quiet the rest of the world couldn't break. And then he saw it, bruises faintly blooming beneath the sleeves of her little dress, the kind that no child should ever have. His stomach clenched. His throat tightened. His fists curled on instinct, but he forced himself to breathe. Not now. Not until he understood. He knelt again, softer this time, and the girl stepped closer, her trembling hand reaching up to rest on his shoulder. She didn't know him. Yet she trusted him. Trusted him more than anyone else in that moment. Rowan felt his vision blur, and he blinked hard. Nothing in his rough life had prepared him for this kind of fragile, overwhelming need. He asked her quietly where her parents were, and she pointed toward the road, toward a house he knew all too well, one with a reputation dark enough that even hardened bikers avoided it. A place where cruelty wasn't rumor but history. A cold rage unfurled in Rowan's chest, but it wasn't the destructive kind he once carried. It was protectiveness. It was the kind of fire that burned clean and bright, the kind used for defending instead of destroying. He gathered her gently in his arms, and she didn't resist. Instead, she nestled against him as if she had found the one person who wouldn't let her fall. As he carried her back toward the cafe, his crew looked up, stunned into silence. They had seen Rowan fight storms, men twice his size, and demons he wouldn't name, but they had never seen tears slip down his face. The strongman, the feared biker, the unbreakable force, broken open by a little girl who needed saving. The moment he sat down on the curb, she placed the stuffed bear on his knee, as if sharing her only treasure with him. And something inside him broke completely. The tears he'd buried for years spilled freely, silently, uncontrollably. Grief for his past. Rage for her pain. Hope that maybe, just maybe, he could still do one thing right in this world. One by one, the other bikers approached. No laughter. No teasing. Only quiet respect. They understood. And without Rowan saying a word, they formed a protective circle around the child, shielding her from the street, the world, and whatever darkness she had run from. Rowan vowed silently that she would never have to run again. As the police and social workers were contacted, as the crew ensured her safety, as Rowan held her tiny hand until she finally felt safe enough to let go, something new settled in his chest. Not the locked box of grief, but a light he hadn't felt in decades. A second chance at humanity. A reminder that no matter how broken a person thought they were, kindness could still be their strongest armor. If this story moved your heart, please like, share, and subscribe to Kindness Corner. Your support helps keep these powerful, real, human stories alive. Before you go, comment below, what would you have done if you saw this little girl following a stranger for help? And with that final thought lingering, Rowan watched the little girl safely guided into a new beginning, carrying hope in her tiny hands, and leaving behind a biker who finally realized that even the toughest hearts can be healed by the gentlest souls.